Alright, hey guys, following the rules here, and welcome to this look ahead video. So, if you're struggling with F12 look ahead, well, you're at the right place because I'm going to be talking about look ahead techniques. So, first of all, the main concern that I had when I was going from sub 30-ish to sub 20 was my cross to F2L transition. And to be fair, I still struggle with it a lot. But one way to help that a lot is to know how to do your cross blindfolded. If you know how to do it blindfolded, then you can do your cross with muscle memory while you track for your cross pieces, for your F2L pieces. So I was tracking this pair so I could transition into F2L immediately. So that's out of the way. Let's talk about blind spots. So when you're holding the cube and doing F2L, there are 4 pieces that you won't be able to see unless you look at the back or from the sides. So without doing a rotation, you won't be able to see them. So there are these 2 pieces at the back, these 2 slots. So you won't be able to see what's in these slots. So basically, during your F2L solve, you want to try to fill up the blind spots at the back. So when you rotate, you're want to also have these blind spots filled. But basically, when you have your blind spots filled, that means you'll be able to see all your pairs and tracking will be much easier. So I'll give you an example. So over here, this is actually a really easy case. So over here, you could insert it from the front, like this. And you wouldn't necessarily know if this pair was the same color, even though like it's pretty obvious that it is if you had decent look ahead from looking at this. But if you inserted this pair in the back, because you know that this goes in there, then you would be able to instantly tell that this is correct because you're not worrying about your blind spots. This back face in general is kind of a blind spot, but it's mainly these 2, because this one, if you have a stickerless or even sticker cubes, you'll have a tiny bit of color that you can reference to, which won't matter in the long run, but like it does change the dynamic a bit. So after you go into your cross, one of the main things I see most people doing is rotating a lot and using the up layer to track pieces. So usually it's not really a good idea. When you have the cube still, you're using less moves, and when you find a pair, you'll instantly be able to flow into it. So for example, I saw this pair, so I did that, and I moved it here, insert it using the back, because you're filling up a blind spot, and then I can see this pair, so I use that, fill that up, and then as you can see, you filled the blind spot up, so there's no possibility that your last edge will be on the blind spots. So the last edge is here, which is matched up with this corner, so you can just pair them up. And for OOO and PLO, it doesn't actually make that much of a difference. So basically, for OOO and PLO, you can just spam TPS and it won't matter that much, even though look ahead is somewhat important. So yeah, let's go over the look ahead techniques. So first of all, you need to be able to plan your cross, the entire cross blindfolded. So while you're doing the cross, you have to be able to make sure you do the cross slowly and track your F2L pieces while you do the cross. So I tracked these 2, and I can instantly flow into this. Now, if you don't need to do a rotation to put it in the front slot, then it's definitely optimal to put in the front slot. I mean, you will have to worry about blind spots again, but it's much better to do this than to rotate and do it from the back. So if you already have an oriented F2O pair, you can just put it in without worrying about rotations. So next pair, usually most people would either see this or this, but I'm assuming like the blind spots you can actually not see. So we're gonna use this pair. And you insert that. So now you'll have to use the blind spots because there's nothing else. So you already have a corner on the top, so you know that the only edge you need to find is this. So if you look here on the top layer, you look on the top layer and you can tell that there's no possible second layer edges. So you just completely ignore the top. So if it isn't here, then it's definitely here. So over here, like, this is not the pair. This does not pair up with that. So you know it's this. So you just pair them up, insert them on the back, and you can see the corner here. So just do that, rotate in this case, and solve your F2L pair. And then you do OOL and PLL. So next solve, I'm going to be talking about something else. So when I started off, around sub 30 range actually, I would be turning as fast as I possibly could and not worrying about look ahead. So I would be just turning as fast as possible and like wasting a lot of time on the pauses. This is a very, very, very bad habit, and basically a way to fix that is to just turn slower. Now, it might feel like you're doing slow solves, but if you think of it as a slow solve, then it's definitely going to be slow. So just think of it as a smoother solve, a solve with no pauses. So basically, instead of rushing like I did with this cube, you just slow down your solve. Make sure when you're solving, you slow down your moves so you can track your F2L pairs. It's much smoother, and it's actually slightly faster than pausing a lot with the super fast method. Because fast turning might save you a second, but then that pause for 1 second will just waste it. And like in general, it usually just saves like half a second if you turn super quick and pause for like 1 second. It just, I mean, yeah, if you basically turn super quick compared to like mediocre quick, then you'd only be saving half a second to 1 second. So basically your pause needs to be lower than that 0.5 or 1 second for this to be worth it. So basically turn slower, but make sure when you're turning slower, it does not mean that you're doing a slow solve. It just means you're doing a fluid, smooth solve. So once again, I'm gonna do the cross. Make sure you know how to do your cross blindfolded for here, because it just makes it so much easier. So I would do this as my cross, and I instantly got 2 free pairs. So I'd use this, but if you were to use the look ahead method, you would fill up the back slot over here. But because you're given 2 free pairs, I'm just gonna do the 2 front slots. And make sure you have look ahead good enough so that you know which pieces are where. So just now I did this, but then this wasn't the piece I was looking for. It was this piece over here. So just make sure you turn slow and look around the cube while you turn, and know basically how you insert your F2L pairs. So when you are inserting your F2L pairs, you can look for other pairs while doing that, and you don't have to worry about this because that's just muscle memory, and the other part is trying to look for another piece. So that saves a lot of time if you avoid any pauses, and it might even shave off 5 seconds off your average if you can get the look ahead right. And even at like maybe a 50-second average, if your F2L is really bad, like you waste a lot of time trying to find a pair. So like you do this, you waste a lot of time finding your pair. Even if you can get like it less, the pauses less drastic, it will still save you a lot of time. Just make sure when you're inserting the F2L pairs that you take your time and make sure you look for other pieces while you're at it. that will save you a lot of time, and it's completely worth it. So anyways, this concludes my look ahead video. So anyways, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.